Where did you find all those pictures? 50 years, oh my God, geez. Well, thank you. Thank you to the Reporters Committee for everything you do to support and defend this freedom of the press. And thank you to my fellow awardees for being who you are and for doing what you do. And thank you and love to my family sitting over here. And a thanks and a salute to all my former colleagues here from all across the country, because it turns out when you've been around long enough even to qualify for a Career Achievement Award, you also collect a lot of wonderful buddies. And for me, the career that this award is intended to recognize was an enormous gift. I lived through one of the most exciting times probably in the history of journalism. And I got to experience it at giant news organizations, the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg News, and also to become a part of local news all across the country. Local papers in Portland, Oregon, Lexington, Kentucky, and Philadelphia at the Inquirer. But it wasn't until nearly a decade ago when I first arrived at Voice of America that I truly realized what all of us meant all those years when we talked about courageous journalism, impactful journalism, what it meant when we all said and say today that we became journalists to change the world. You see, at VOA, we would only broadcast into societies without a free press, where without us, people would literally not know anything about events affecting their own lives, about the anti-headscarf protest in Iran, or a coup in Mozambique. No ordinary North Korean would know that the South was free, prosperous, and wealthy. The people of China would not know, as millions of them still to this day do not know, that the horrors of Tiananmen Square ever even happened. Nor would the voices of every president, from Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1942 to Donald Trump today, be heard by the world in an unfiltered, unpropagandized version, explaining what we as Americans did, how we did it, and most important, why we did it. Without a free press, much of the world today hears only a filtered version of both the horrific war in Gaza and the glimmers of hope we see before us today. It was only at Voice of America and later at the U.S. Agency for Global Media, where I was also heading VOA's regional cousins, Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Asia, Office of Cuba Broadcasting, and the Middle East Broadcasting Network. It was only then that I fully realized something that should have been obvious to me all along, but wasn't. This isn't about us. None of this is really just about journalism. Our struggles, about what we say or what we believe about ourselves, because it isn't us who keep the free press alive around the world. That credit goes to the overpowering hunger of people around the world to know the truth, whether from behind Nazi lines during World War II, behind the Iron Curtain during the Cold War, or even today from behind that dizzying flood of dis and misinformation threatening to drown us all. Not just the desire, but the need to know the truth. And around the world, that passion owes its continuous life to civil society, to organizations, religious institutions, communities, schools, universities, to the people themselves who keep alive in the face of unimaginable horrors that burning desire to know what is really happening and what can truly be trusted. We in the United States have the precious gift that our birthright, rooted in the founding of our country, still exists. Yet we also carry the burden that not a single soul who has lived a life mostly or entirely in the United States has ever had to experience what it really feels like to be trapped in a country where literally everything we see and hear around us is controlled by someone else. where nothing can ever be believed, and to fully understand what that means, not just to the ephemeral something we call democracy, but to us. And none of us has, as yet, had to fully realize that it can be lost. It can be lost, as it has been in so many countries around the world, in Turkey, in Poland, in Hong Kong. We don't yet have to know what it means to really experience that hunger, that need for truthful, unfettered information. Well, as everyone in this room already knows, the Voice of America is all but gone now, as are its peers serving Cuba, the Middle East, Asia, and Europe, all hammered down to slivers of their powerful former selves. Bruce and I were in constant communication during the first attempt to do that, and the legal struggles that have accompanied so much of the worst have been well documented. And as a result, we hope and pray that the voices of those who have fought to feed that hunger for information and truth won't be silenced forever. But in the meantime, there are lessons here for all of us. Our job, all of us here in this room, is not just to be journalists. It is also to be that kind of a powerful civil society that keeps alive the longing for a free press around the world. We must be not just journalists, but also citizens. Citizens who are striving every day to make sure that everyone all across the country knows what a free press means. And not just to that fragile concept we call democracy, but to every single thing about our lives, about our children's lives, about everything we hold dear. Because without that passionate hunger for the truth, and that hunger does exist all across our entire country, no matter how much we talk about the threat to democracy, it will never be enough. We all need to understand that without a free press, all of our ways of lives, no matter how different, how conflicting, how alien and disturbing our views might seem to each other, that can all vanish in a flash. And we, my friends, cannot let that happen. Thank you.